This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Security was clearly heightened today as Drug Enforcement Unit officers dressed in camouflage and masks stood a guard outside the courts where Stephen Dye Stubbs and his co-accused are on trial.
Now, this was the scene as testimony resumed today in the trial of the three men accused of murdering Police Constable Jimmy Ambrose back in 1999.
Stephen Dye Stubbs, Andrew Davis, and Clinton Evans are the accused men. They are also accused of the attempted murder of police officer Marcian Scott. They deny all the allegations.
Our Jiminy DeSwain was in court today and filed this report.
Sergeant Frank Burrows told the court that he was passing by on patrol on March 29, 1999 when he heard rapid gunfire near Club Rock and saw a young man running from the club to the parking lot and attempting to put a silver gun in his waist. Burrows said he pursued the young man, urging him to stop. Burrows added that the person did not stop, but instead pointed the gun in his direction. Burrows said he drew his service revolver and fired a shot. Burrows then said he caught up with the suspect at Virginia Street near a building under construction. There, Burrows said Clinton Evans, who he identified in court, came from the building with his hands raised and said someone was shooting at him. Burrows added that Officer 1205 Knowles, who responded to the scene, pulled a gun from a pile of sand near the building before Evans was taken into custody. The other witness of the day, Anthon Duncombe, recounted his version of what he saw on the morning of March 29, 1999. He said he saw Stubbs place a weapon under a vehicle at Club Rock and heard persons out of a group of 50 gathered around the body of Jimmy Ambrose say Andrew Davis was one of the persons who shot the officer. Under cross-examination by Muriel DeSeal, who represents Stubbs, Duncombe said he prepared his police report on the matter on March 30, 1999, but DeSeal pointed out that the actual statement was dated March 29, 1999 instead. Duncombe denied the suggestion that he concocted the story about seeing Stubbs place a gun underneath the car because Officer Garrett Ryan, who testified earlier, was his friend. Attorney Ian Cargill put similar suggestions to Duncombe. Officer Duncombe said Davis never ran or resisted arrest, nor was he seen with a weapon. Duncombe also denied the suggestion that he and other officers conspired to convict Stubbs, Davis, and other co-accused in this matter. Justice Roy Jones is presiding over the case. Jiminy DeSwain, ZNS Network News.
Also from the courts, a 17-year-old juvenile was arraigned in connection with the shooting death of 25-year-old William McKenzie on Key West Street last Friday. The teen was allegedly playing with a firearm when it somehow went off, striking the victim to the upper chest. He died at the scene. The juvenile was charged with manslaughter when he appeared before Magistrate Constance Delaney today. However, family members outside of the court said that they have forgiven him and do not hold a grudge. McKenzie's mother, Willamay Duncombe Wilson, said she also has forgiven the teen, who is also her godson, because she knows deep in her heart that he did not intend to kill her son. She says she believes it was just a horrible accident that both families will now have to deal with. Following the teen's arraignment, McKenzie's mother could be seen embracing the mother of the accused, who was visibly distraught. The juvenile was remanded to Her Majesty's prison. He will next appear in court on July 25th.
Son las imágenes de la golpiza a un grupo de cubanos el pasado 11 de junio.
This is the video that has Foreign Affairs fuming. The recording was reported to be the beating of a Cuban detainee or group of detainees at the detention center on Golden Isles Road. Such an action would go against human rights by any stretch, except that Foreign Affairs officials say elements of the recording reek of fraud. This is my community. This is my country. You mother. Take a second listen. The purported guard seen here kicking and warning detainees not to return to the Bahamas speaks with an accent which sounds more Spanish than Bahamian. This is my country. According to Minister Mitchell, Bahamian law enforcement officials also viewed the recording, and their determination was that the video appears to be a manufactured attempt to create a damaging impression of the Bahamas. Mr. Mitchell maintains that all detainees are treated with respect and in accordance with all applicable conventions and with human dignity and courtesy.
Legal action could be filed by Thursday as the plot thickens over the controversial cancellation of St. John's College's graduation. The 106 students were supposed to walk this morning. That did not happen. And despite the latest developments, Andrew Knowles tells us the bishop remains mum on the issue.
A locked gate here at the Holy Trinity Activity Center and no graduation for St. John's College's class of 2013. Despite objections, the Anglican Central Education Authority stood firm in its decision to cancel the graduation and prom, forcing irate parents and distraught students to take legal action.
I have no comment to make about that. None.
And that's all head of the Anglican Church, Bishop Blaish Boyd, would say on the abrupt cancellation of St. John's College's graduation, a decision that sparked public debate in many circles. The ACEA decided to take the principal's stand due to a breach of its policies and school rules on a number of occasions, which misrepresented the organization and, in the ACEA's words, showed total disregard for the Anglican ethos. But the parents upped the ante Monday, retaining a lawyer in the hopes of getting the school board to reverse its decision. However, since the graduation ceremony did not happen Tuesday, attorney Christina Galano says she will take legal action on behalf of the parents, filing papers on Thursday. And even in light of this, when pressed by reporters, Bishop Boyd repeatedly declined to comment.
I have nothing to say about that matter, ma'am. Nothing to say about that matter.
Are you concerned that as a result of the stance that other parents may consider withdrawing their students from St. John's?
I have nothing to say about this matter.
Now, although the graduation ceremony did not happen, students have the opportunity to collect their diplomas. However, Attorney Galanis advised her clients not to collect the diplomas from the school. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Proud parents, family and friends of 30 new doctors from the University of the West Indies School of Clinical Medicine and Research got to witness the students successfully graduate. The new medical professionals were welcomed to the medical profession during a standing room only graduation ceremony at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel last night. Officials say this 2013 class has been branded as the most successful since the school was established back in 1997. 24 undergraduates passed their exams in the first sitting. All 30 doctors received their diplomas and 12 postgraduates passed their Doctor of Medicine exam as well. 9 in family medicine, 3 in emergency medicine, and 1 in child health. Besides receiving best wishes and several accolades after 5.5 years of study, the graduates heard about the government's intention to place more doctors in the Family Islands where there is a dire need. While Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald encouraged the doctors to change the culture of health care throughout education, he also challenged him to raise the level of medical service to the Bahamian people.
You must now transfer your greatness in medical research into action. Over the last 3 years, the government has invested a substantial amount of monies in order for you to become medical doctors. This is a tremendous effort to increase the capacity of highly skilled medical practitioners in our country. Additionally, we need more of the knowledge that you have compiled to reach people to whom it most often impacts, people in the inner cities and those of the low-income communities.
Echoing similar sentiments was Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez, who also emphasized the government's commitment to sustaining Family Island health care. He outlined several programs the government plans to implement to attract doctors to live and work outside of New Providence.
Our government, in its attempt to securing the future of all Bahamians, has recently regulated the integration of family medicine specialists into the public health system by creating parity of pay in the public health sector. Also, with the addition of a scarcity allowance that helped to even the playing field between doctors in the hospital setting or belonging to the public hospital authority and those in the public health department.
Coming up, another look back at Crab Fest 2013.
And coming up in sports, the newest twist in the B3A saga. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altovise Munnings. The Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation will face some of the most pressing decisions in its history, with familiar faces at the top and a slew of new directors following its recent annual general meeting and election of officers. The entire board attended its first meeting this past weekend. Now, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation will hold a number of meetings in a few weeks to determine the way forward as new and returning officers and directors unite to create a strategic plan of action for the administrative year. CIBC First Caribbean International Bank is hosting a regional conference this Thursday and Friday to promote public and private sector cooperation in generating investment opportunities and increasing the availability of capital for infrastructure development. The conference is titled Public-Private Partnerships in Infrastructure Development and Financing. The Minister of Finance, Prime Minister Perry Christie, is expected to officially open the conference, which is being held at the Atlantis Paradise Island Resort. And in international business news, leaders of the G8 major economies have agreed to new measures to clamp down on money launderers, illegal tax evaders, and corporate tax avoiders. Governments agreed to give each other automatic access to information on their residents' tax affairs. They will also require shell companies, often used to exploit tax loopholes and invest money anonymously, to identify their effective owners. Well, that's your Royal Fidelity Business News. Good evening. I'm Altovise Munnings.